Can you do this with your circular saw?
See how cleanly I extracted the subfloor with one saw, one blade, and no damage to the sheetrock, wires, or plumbing? One saw.
What about this?
Forget about pulling out your beam saw or making 4 cuts with 2 different saws. I could do it with one saw in 2 cuts.
Bet your saw can't do this.
How fast was that? And without the waste of material or ugly edges that can be created by a reciprocating saw.
What if you could do this?
I just cut that rim joist without marking or chalking any lines. Try that with any other saw.
Could you even think about doing this with your circular saw?
How many times would you have to pull out your tape measure just to cut these floor joists? 10, 20 times? Try doing it without measuring at all.
And try doing this with your old circular saw.
I used to have to do this by hand or switch to an undercut saw. Now I just rotate my handle 90 degrees for perfect one-pass undercuts in only a few seconds.
Now, would you believe that you could do all these things and more with just one saw, all while significantly reducing construction costs? Believe it. Introducing the straight flush saw, the 7-in-1 saw that's faster, safer, and more versatile than virtually any other comparable saw on the market. And it's about to change the construction industry forever. On a typical job site, you'd need almost all these saws to get the job done. The straight flush saw replaces them all. Keep watching to find out how.
Hi, I'm Jake Cusdy, creator of the straight flush saw. After years of frustration, lugging 7 different saws to and from job sites and spending thousands of dollars on blades, I decided something had to change. I thought to myself, wouldn't it be more efficient to have just one saw that did everything all my other saws do? That's when I began designing the straight flush saw. Let's start off with the flagship feature the straight flush saw gets its name from, the flush cut. No other saw does it better or easier than this saw. When you're cutting up against a wall or floor, it's important for your blade to be as close to zero as possible. With the straight flush saw, you get true zero clearance for laser precision cuts. If you've ever worked on a house that was built in the 40s or 50s and needed to do a subfloor extraction, you know what a nightmare it can be. Sometimes the plumbing and wiring is built right onto the bottom of the subfloor, and it's nearly impossible to cut with a reciprocating saw without damaging it. This can mean tens of thousands of dollars in labor costs if you're not careful.
Yikes! There's nothing worse than unexpected labor costs when you're right in the middle of a job. Luckily, with the straight flush saw, you can adjust the depth of your cut to any setting so you won't damage any existing infrastructure.
See how clean this cut is? You'd never be able to do that with a reciprocating saw. That's because I'm able to make clean flush cuts at -5 degrees and set my depth, whether that be for car decking, OSB, or plywood, so I don't hit any of the important infrastructure underneath. And if I need to cut into a corner, all I have to do is fold up the front deck and I can easily make a 1 9/16 nose cut 360 degrees around the room way faster than a manual saw and without cutting into pipe or wire.
Hate making ugly, inaccurate cuts with a router or reciprocating saw? The deployable front deck is also the fastest, easiest way to cut out doors and windows.
Look at those edges. They're clean, beautiful lines that don't need any extra attention, unlike the ugly, uneven cuts that you get with a reciprocating saw or plunge router. More importantly, we've saved a ton of material. See all these plywood scraps? Depending on the size of your job site, that's hundreds to thousands of dollars worth of material you might lose when you use one of these inefficient saws to cut your doors and windows. With the straight flush saw, you'll save more of your scraps, even on a small house that can easily turn into a few $1,000s in profit.
Once you're ready to start ripping that plywood down a bit, the straight flush saw's built-in removable rip guide will have you powering through 2x faster than ever.
Unlike the short, stubby rip guides you find in stores, the built-in rip guide on the straight flush saw spans the full length of the saw, so it tracks itself for a super smooth operation.
From -5 degrees to 65 degrees, the straight flush saw has the widest bevel range of any saw on the market. Try this with any other saw.
Look how easily I'm able to cut through this 2x6 at 65 degrees. You won't find a bevel this wide on other saws, which can max out between 45 and 51 degrees. Even at 45 degrees, it can be extremely difficult to cut accurately, and your wrist tends to cramp from being in an awkward handle position. With the straight flush saw, I have a rotating rear handle that I can turn to true and lock in place at 45 degrees and 90 degree increments for a comfortable, natural feeling grip. For your standard cuts, we have a spring-loaded pin that indexes the saw at 45, 22.5, and 0 degrees. You can easily set the straight flush to these bevels.
Are you tired of cutting out door jambs with slow, labor-intensive manual saws or dangerous undercut saws that are hard to control? Then you're going to love how easy and safe it is to do undercuts with the straight flush saw.
Check this out. If I want to transition to any kind of horizontal cutting, all I have to do is rotate the handle 90 degrees and I'm ready to make clean, painless undercuts. Because I have a second handle at the top of the saw for extra stability and control, it's much safer than a traditional undercut saw. I don't have to worry about dangerous, awkwardly placed handles or wasting a bunch of material. And look how seamlessly this laminate flooring fits now. Having the ability to make flush cuts and undercuts on the same saw is just one of the things that make the straight flush saw such a game changer. Another advantage is its safety features, and I'd like to talk about some of those next.
Did you know that circular saw injuries often occur from users pinning their lower guard back with a pencil or wedge?
I can't tell you how many guys I've watched pin their guard back with a pencil or some kind of wedge, forget they did it, and then put their saw on the ground while it was still winding down, only to have it bounce back towards them and get injured or damage the wall or floor. They go through all this trouble to avoid getting their fingers near the blade and wind up injuring themselves even worse because of it. When I started designing the straight flush saw, I knew this was something I had to address. As you can see here, we've implemented a trigger-actuated lower guard located right on the rear handle. If I need to make a cut with the guard, I just squeeze the trigger and it automatically retracts. As soon as I let it go, it returns right back to its original position. If I need to put the saw down on the floor while it's running, I can do that without worrying about it bouncing towards me or climbing up the walls.
The safety features don't stop there. When you're not making flush cuts, the removable dust cover serves as an additional layer of protection, as well as a barrier for controlling dust direction.
The removable dust cover is a great way to add protection when you're not making flush cuts, and I highly recommend always keeping it on unless you need that zero clearance. It's also really handy for adding depth to undercuts. Most standard undercuts are 3/8 of an inch. By leaving the dust cover on, we can add a bit of depth and control the mess at the same time by hooking up a mini vac to the attachment port on the side here. The best part about the mini vac is that it's completely detachable. This means you can add a water hose attachment and turn the straight flush saw into a wet saw, or add a CO2 or air hose and use it for metalwork.
Wait. Wood, concrete, and metal all in the same saw? This has to be some kind of mistake. Can a handheld saw really do that?
That's right. All you need is one of our interchangeable concrete or metal blades, and you're ready to cut through just about anything. Although you'll need to purchase additional blades for the straight flush saw, this is one of the saw's biggest advantages. Let me show you why. The straight flush does just about everything a Mag 77 can do, plus has zero clearance, a wider bevel range, and the ability to cut through double 2x, so you won't need one on the job site anymore. It also has wider bevel range and cutting depth than the skill saw, plus it is much lighter. And an undercut saw, the straight flush can make the cuts you need and so much more. Instead of being limited to just finish work, it also does framing, siding, form setting, and has the ability to cut both metal and concrete. When you pick up one of our premium grade metal blades and swap out the mini vac attachment for an air or CO2 hose, you can do everything a metal saw does and more. Because you won't have to flex a reciprocating saw against the walls or floors to get zero clearance anymore, you don't need to use one nearly as often. The straight flush saw also decreases the need to use the Bigfoot beam saw, and you only have to resort to your Bigfoot when you need to cut out a beam that's bigger than an 8x8. Although a router is still needed on the job site, the straight flush practically eliminates the need to use a router for its framing and siding capabilities. Plus, the straight flush has the ability to make bevel cuts, slice through double 2x, and has no clearance minimum. As you can see, you'll really only need to use a reciprocating saw for those extra hard to reach places, and your Bigfoot saw for the rare instances you need to cut an oversized beam. But the other 5 saws, they're good as gone. The straight flush saw does almost everything these 7 saws can do and more. Plus, its features help to make it fast, safe, and more efficient to use. Couple that with all the money you'll save on material waste, blades, and maintenance, and you're significantly reducing labor costs.
Because the straight flush replaces 7 different saws almost entirely, you could save thousands of dollars a year in blade costs alone. This means you'll only have to replace blades on one saw and the occasional blade on one of your other saws. That's huge. With the money you'll save on materials and labor, you'll pay for the straight flush saw multiple times over just in the first few weeks of using it. Speaking of price, I bet you're wondering how much it costs by now. Before I tell you, let's consider what you'd pay for all the other saws you're currently using on the job. On the high end, you might pay close to $3,000 for all these saws. On the low end, you probably still end up paying almost $1,500. At just $575, you won't pay anything near those prices for the straight flush saw. In addition to all its awesome time and money-saving features, the straight flush saw also comes with a heavy-duty lifetime guarantee. If one of the manufactured parts breaks or you experience a design flaw, just send it back to us and we'll send you a new straight flush even if you're not the original owner.
Heard enough? Stop lugging around heavy, cumbersome saws that only have one function and start saving time, labor, and material costs today. Get the straight flush saw right now and experience the way a real saw is supposed to work.